Hi, welcome to MKT 201. This session is titled Manage Your Software Licenses Across AWS Governance Tools. My name is Shu He. I am a Senior Product Manager on the AWS Marketplace team. I will be joined in this session by Ken Walsh, who is a Senior Partner Solutions Architect who works across Marketplace, Control Tower, and Service Catalog. In this session, I'll provide a quick introduction to AWS Marketplace and its offerings. Then I'll talk about AWS Marketplace's recent integration with Managed Entitlements, a new feature from AWS License Manager. We'll walk through the customer challenges that this feature launch solves and outline its key benefits and value points. Next, I'll introduce the AWS Service Catalog and AWS Control Tower services. I'll walk you through a workflow example to show you how Managed Entitlements can be configured to work across AWS Marketplace, AWS Control Tower, and AWS Service Catalog. Finally, Ken will jump in to give you a demonstration of how you can integrate the Managed Entitlements APIs across your Control Tower and Service Catalog workflows. So for those who might not be familiar, AWS Marketplace is a curated digital catalog that makes it easy for customers to find, buy, and deploy third-party software and data products that customers need to build solutions and run their businesses. We have over 1,600 ISVs who collectively list over 8,000 product listings across 50 different categories. AWS Marketplace has 290,000 monthly active customers and over 1.5 million current subscriptions. Customers come to AWS Marketplace because purchasing is quick and easy. We offer flexible pricing and terms, and we continue to expand our control and governance features for our customers. We know that customers are looking for the ability to innovate with agility and control, but often they think that they need to decide between speed and agility versus control and governance. AWS Marketplace is invested in building features that help our customers improve business agility and maintain governance control. When customers use AWS Marketplace with management and governance services like AWS License Manager, AWS Control Tower, and AWS Service Catalog, our customers can balance control and governance while supporting innovation, scaling operational efficiency, and reducing costs. So what is Managed Entitlements? Managed Entitlements is a new feature we launched at re:Invent last year. This feature was created in partnership between the AWS Marketplace and AWS License Manager services. Both AWS customers and AWS partners can take advantage of this new feature. Managed Entitlements has two core components: granted licenses for AWS customer and license buyers, as well as seller-issued licenses for independent software vendors. Managed Entitlements helps customers and software buyers automate and accelerate software license distribution and enables independent software vendors to create and manage license entitlements for use on AWS and on-premises. Moving forward in the session, we'll focus specifically on how AWS Marketplace's integration with Managed Entitlements can enable license entitlement distribution for AWS Marketplace customers and buyers. We'll show you how you can integrate this feature with existing workflows in the AWS Control Tower and AWS Service Catalog. Let's talk about how Managed Entitlements can help AWS Marketplace customers centrally govern licenses and scale. Before we launched this feature, AWS Marketplace had a one-to-one relationship between a product subscription and the resulting license entitlement. This entitlement represented the customer's right to use that specifically subscribed product. These subscriptions occurred at an AWS account level, which means that each account who wanted to use a particular product had to first subscribe to and accept the product's license terms through the AWS Marketplace user interface. As our customers grow and scale on AWS using products from AWS Marketplace, they encountered a few challenges with the legacy setup. First, customers who have centralized software procurement prefer to centrally accept license terms through one account. Our customers wanted a mechanism to persist their central subscription across their entire organization. Instead of having each account subscribing to a product manually accepting the license licensing terms and doing the subscription through their respective accounts. Second, customers found it difficult to scale their AWS Marketplace purchases of free, bring your own license, and paid products across tens or even hundreds of AWS accounts. Many of our customers wanted to provision base Amazon machine images like operating systems and network security firewalls across multiple AWS accounts in their organization. Before Managed Entitlements was launched, customers had to independently and manually subscribe to every product that they wanted to use from each respective account. As you can imagine, this process becomes hard to scale across tens and hundreds of accounts. Overall, our customers wanted to be able to manage AWS Marketplace products centrally and programmatically enable multiple accounts to start using those products immediately. The Managed Entitlements feature launch solved both of these challenges. The recent launch allows us to decouple the relationship between an AWS Marketplace subscription and the resulting license entitlement. This means that we can enable a customer to use an administrative account to subscribe to a Marketplace product and agree or accept to the terms once. Then, that same account can distribute entitlements to other accounts in their AWS organization using the newly available UI and APIs. This feature gives our customers a scalable way to enable license access and centralized tracking of those entitlements. Here's an overview of how Managed Entitlements works for AWS Marketplace. To start, you should first have a subscription to a third-party product in AWS Marketplace. For that Marketplace subscription, there will be a corresponding license created within AWS License Manager. You can then track your licenses purchased from Marketplace using the AWS License Manager console or APIs. The UI and APIs can then be used to distribute license entitlements for Amazon Machine Images, containers, and machine learning products. These entitlements can be granted to accounts within your AWS organization. Each account with a granted entitlement now has the right to use that product. In the next slides, I'll walk you through the benefits of Managed Entitlements for AWS Marketplace. The first benefit of Managed Entitlements is that as a part of this launch, AWS Marketplace created licenses that represent both your existing and new subscriptions. These licenses can be tracked in the Granted Licenses section in the AWS License Manager console. You can use the AWS License Manager console to view the third-party software licenses that you have acquired through AWS Marketplace. The second benefit for Marketplace customers is the ability to govern and distribute entitlement access from a central administrator account. You can distribute entitlement access to your Amazon Machine Images, containers products, and machine learning algorithms and models purchased through AWS Marketplace. You can use Managed Entitlements or license access distribution by using either the AWS License Manager, Console UI, or APIs. Speaking of APIs, you can use these newly available APIs to customize automation based on your existing workflows. For example, you can manage entitlements for AWS Marketplace products when provisioning new accounts in your AWS Control Tower landing zone, which helps you set up and govern secure multi-account AWS environments. You can also manage entitlements by distributing Marketplace products through AWS Service Catalog, without the need to first subscribe from each individual account. Now, how do these APIs integrate across different governance tools? Let's start with AWS Control Tower. AWS Control Tower helps you create and manage multiple account configurations using security and compliance best practices. You can automate account provisioning and setup, apply governance guardrails to your AWS workloads, and use Control Tower dashboards for organization-wide account visibility. AWS Service Catalog gives customers the ability to create and manage catalogs of AWS products. These catalogs can be used to provision AWS and third-party services and resources to a specified set of end users. Next, we'll jump into a demo where Ken will walk you through how AWS Marketplace Administrator can purchase a product from Marketplace, receive a granted license in AWS License Manager. Then they can use AWS Service Catalog to provision that license to the organizational units that they have already defined through their AWS Control Tower configuration. Ken, take it away.
Thank you, Shu. Again, my name is Kenneth Walsh. I am a solution architect with Amazon Web Services. I focus on the services of Service Catalog, Control Tower, and Marketplace. Today, I'll take you to a demonstration of the Marketplace and License Manager Management Entitlement feature that allows customers to subscribe to Marketplace solutions once and then share them with other accounts in the organization. Let's get into the demonstration now. We're about to kick the demonstration off, but let's talk about the workflow outline and what will happen in the demonstration. In the demonstration, a primary account on the left will subscribe to a Marketplace product. Then they will use the management entitlement functionality of License Manager to create a license grant for the organization units on the right. Organization Unit 1 and 2 both have 6 accounts, or they can have many more accounts. Once the License Manager management entitlement has created a grant for those organizations to use, then each account in those organization units can deploy, for instance, Jenkins via an Amazon machine image or container or machine learning models without the need for each account in that organization unit to first subscribe to the Marketplace product. And that's the benefit of management entitlements. It allows all 12 accounts to deploy and use products from Marketplace without first subscribing to them. So we've listened to our customers and we'll work backwards, and we allow now a primary account to subscribe once, share the license via grant to account and organization units, and then each account can be used by developers or can also be used by application users to deploy and use those products. Okay, so that is the process that will happen within a demonstration. All right, so let's kick off the demonstration, and we have an animation that shows you what will happen. So as I mentioned before, Marketplace product will be subscribed to. AWS License Manager will see that subscription. Then we'll use the product service catalog to gather information about the license, gather account information from Control Tower, display it to an end user, and they will be able to pick an organization unit or account and then deploy the grant to that organization and account. Once there, the accounts in those organization unit, we call them the recipient accounts, they can then use a Service Catalog product will be created to deploy the Marketplace solution. Here we are. As you can see, on the left, we have the primary account. On the right, we have the recipient account. On the left, we are looking at all of the different Marketplace subscriptions that the primary account has subscribed to. And what we will do is, again, we will create a grant and deploy that to the recipient account, and we'll leverage Service Catalog to do that. Right now, we're just looking at the Marketplace products that have been subscribed to in the primary account. As we switch to License Manager, we see that in License Manager, we have the same information. So it's one-to-one. The accounts in the subscriptions rather in Marketplace, we also have them in License Manager. And we see here the subscriptions again in Marketplace, and we have the same thing in License Manager. Okay. And we have Jenkins, we have VMware, RStudio, and many others. As we go into Control Tower now, we see that Control Tower has organization units, which are a grouping of accounts. And we have Dev Sandbox. We'll use that later on when we deploy it. And if we drill down and look at the Account Factory feature in Control Tower, we see that we can create accounts and put those accounts in organization units. And then later on, we can deploy grants, license grants to those organization units. Okay, so again, we have organization units. If we drill down on the Dev Sandbox, we see that we have multiple accounts, and the license grant will be deployed to an organization unit and then to all those accounts. Here we are now in Service Catalog, and we'll use it again to kick off the process that will deploy and create the grant and deploy it to the recipient accounts in an organization unit. So we'll select the product, and then we will select launch. Once we select launch, we can pick parameters to go with that Service Catalog products, parameters like the AMI ID. Here we're going to select the license. Service Catalog pulls this from License Manager. And then we're also going to select an organization unit because Service Catalog pulls it from Control Tower and organizations. And here we select an account. So now that we have the license and we have the organization unit and account, you'll see on the recipient account on the right, we see the account numbers match. So once we have selected all the parameters on the left, we will then hit launch product and deploy it. We're going to drill down on the right in the recipient account just to show the before of the different Service Catalog products that are there. And as we can see, there is no Service Catalog product for Jenkins in the recipient account. And we're going to go back to the left and we're going to launch and kick off the process to create the grant for the recipient account and create a Service Catalog product to work with that marketplace solution in the recipient account. And we have just done that and we've kicked it off and the process has begun. Within the recipient account on the right, we will just change the interface and we will look at CloudFormation in the recipient account. And this will show in the recipient account a process that is being kicked off to deploy the attributes and artifacts that we need in the recipient account. CloudFormation, you can think of it as just an automated sequence of steps to configure the environment. And there is the stack that has been kicked off in the recipient account. And once that is completed, the recipient account will have a grant from License Manager and a Service Catalog product that users in the recipient account can use to easily deploy, in this case, Jenkins or any other marketplace solution. Okay, so the process or the stack has been completed in the recipient account, and we can look at some information about it, look at the resources that were built out, and we see that we have Service Catalog portfolios and products that were created. And those are the different events that happen. And soon we'll go to Service Catalog in the recipient account and see the product. On the left, we've seen that the Service Catalog product on the primary account has completed. We have a message saying that it has kicked off the process to deploy the license and the Service Catalog product in the recipient account. And as we go to the recipient account now, and we look in Service Catalog, we will see a new product, or should see a new product for Jenkins that an end user can then select and deploy. There's the product for Jenkins, and the end user will now select the product, and then they can easily deploy this marketplace solution in the recipient account. And a developer can launch Jenkins, or an application user can launch another marketplace product, and then they can leverage it and they use it. So we see that this end user is selecting all the parameters that is needed by Service Catalog to deploy the Jenkins product in the recipient account, and they've just kicked off that process. So as you can see, in the primary account, we've used Service Catalog to kick off a process to deploy a license grant to the recipient account and create a Service Catalog product in the recipient account that can easily be used by users in the recipient account. And what we're doing on the left now is just simply repeating the process to launch a LambStack, or we can repeat the process to launch any other marketplace subscription or product from the primary account to the recipient account. These are all the marketplace solutions or subscriptions that are in the primary account. And once again, all of these are also available in License Manager, and you can use Service Catalog to deploy those products also from the primary account to the recipient account. Okay. Just another listing of the products, the subscription in Marketplace. And again, here they are also in License Manager. So again, it's a one-to-one. Here's Control Tower with all the different accounts and OUs that we can deploy as recipient targets. And Service Catalog, again, we have License Manager, where we can deploy and launch a new product from the primary account to the recipient account. In the recipient account on the right, we see that the deployment of the Jenkins in the recipient account on the right has been completed. And if we wanted to, we could drill down into the EC2 interface and see some details around what was deployed. So there is the instance that was deployed, and we can see information like the IP address, the endpoints, the configuration of the Jenkins EC2 instance that was deployed. We're now at the end of the demonstration. Thank you for watching it, and I hope you found it helpful.
Thanks for the demo, Ken. And to wrap things up, we wanted to highlight a customer quote from James Barney at Ally Financial. James participated in the private beta of this feature and provided positive feedback on its ease of use and implementation. We hope that this session and demo gives you a deeper understanding of how to use managed entitlements in your own organization. We encourage you to try managing entitlements with your AWS Marketplace purchases by visiting the Granted Licenses page in the AWS License Manager console. You can also learn more by checking out the new Managed Entitlements APIs in the AWS License Manager Service API documentation. Thank you so much for joining us today. Additional resources for AWS training and certification can be found at aws.com/training. Thanks again.